Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo. I am your host, Reggie Darden, and I'm excited to have another wonderful guest with me, Mr. Dave Thompson. And yes, we're going to go through his journey in Kempo and hear his wonderful stories and just whatever rat holes that we get onto. I usually kind of start things off by just giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in multiple martial arts at this point: American Kempo, Capoeira, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai. And I also have some experience in Taekwondo and did a little boxing when I was in the Army. So that keeps me busy with the life and podcast and everything else going on. I stay pretty busy, but I enjoy getting to talk to wonderful folks like my guest today. And yeah, we'll just kind of go from there and see what we get into. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Thompson here. Go ahead and tell me and the listeners. Where did the martial arts find you? Where did Kempo find you? Where did it all start? And we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay, well, first I'd like to thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate that, Reggie, very much. My journey first started in 1972 with Kempo. Prior to that, I had taken Jiu-Jitsu and back when it wasn't like the Jiu-Jitsu now, and Judo. And I think I did a little Aikido and stuff, but I was very, very young at the time. And that studio or school ended up closing, and one of the black belts had told me to go to try Kempo. And so I did. In 1972, I met Mr. Paul Dye. At that time, was an instructor at the studio. They had an instructor program that he was on, and I took my very first lesson from him, and he has been my instructor ever since. 52 years with him, still my instructor, only instructor that I'll ever have, and I'm very proud to be one of his students. I did start my martial arts career because the area that I grew up in, pretty much gang related, and had a lot of issues with drugs and stuff. And basically, if you weren't with a gang, you'd get your butt kicked. And I basically took martial arts because I didn't want my butt kicked, and I wasn't a fast runner. That's all.
I like that. Yeah, no, I also am not much of a runner, so yeah, I definitely need the martial arts to save myself. So, although I think I've been able to talk my way out of most fights, luckily. So, but hopefully I don't have to use my skills. In the street or in anywhere else other than a tournament or something or training in class, but I like that.
Yeah.
So going from the judo and into Kempo, was it a big transition for you, or did you fall into it kind of easy? How was kind of the transition from going from one art to the other?
I was young at the time. Transition was a little difficult. I was the most coordinated person in judo as well. But the first day when I went to judo, I remember just hearing guys screaming and then a big thump. And then I wasn't sure I wanted to take it because, I'm seeing these guys flying in the air and landing on the ground. I'm like, why are these guys doing this? But parents said, you need to get in this. So I did. When I went to the studio that was run by Dave Hebler, my first day going in there, a gentleman by the name of Jim Thompson, no relation to me, but he was a pretty tough character, that's for sure. And I remember me and my dad were sitting there in the studio and class was going on. And a kid ran by me, went into the locker room or bathroom it was, and he came out in his gi. And he stood at the end of the mat and he waited. When Mr. Thompson waved him over to cut come into the class, he bowed at the mat. He ran to the front of the class and got into a big old horse. Well, Jim Thompson went off and just ball kicked him about 3 feet back under the ground. He gets back up and he gets him, lines up back in the class. And there was this kid next to me, and I asked him, I said, what happened? Why did he do that? And the kid looked over at me and says, he's late. I was like, and I looked at my dad and I said, hey, you know what? You're driving, not me. So if that happens, I'm not getting kicked. You get kicked. And he just laughed. Said, "Yeah, okay, we won't be late." So that was my first experience of doing that. And then the transition from judo to kempo was great. I mean, I just fell in love with it because like I didn't have to grab onto somebody. I didn't have to be slammed to the ground at the time when I was doing the judo, but you were able to start hitting people and doing a lot of variations and stuff. So my very first my very first class was, like I said, with Mr. Dye, and I have the original card. There was an introductory card that you had to fill out for your kicks and all that stuff, and I still have that card today. Great experience. He was awesome. He's just an awesome individual.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've previously had a chance to speak with him on this show, and it was a great conversation. And I definitely need to reach out and have him back on, especially since I've had a chance to talk with some other cohorts that have worked with him and trained with him, and they've said, "Oh, well, you got to ask him about this," or, or have
There's
him
some
tell
stories that
about
are
this
pretty
story or
cool.
that.
Hmm. There's some definitely good stories. I'll tell you that.
Mm.
Um, there's this one story I will tell you about. We uh, He decided to tell me that tell me I will say that we're going to at Parker Studio in Pasadena. They're doing a Friday night line. And I thought, okay, I'm a green belt at the time. And he says, I go, wait a minute, isn't that like for only black belt Friday night line guys? He goes, yeah. I go, yeah, but I'm a green belt. He goes, yeah, I know. And I said, yeah, but I'm a green belt. And he goes, yeah, I know. Let's go. So we end up going there, and I'm standing around as green belt, and there's black belts that were there that weren't really not happy to see a green belt in there. Like, what am I doing here? And Mr. Trejo was there, and they all kind of went and told Mr. Trejo. He said, hey, what's with the green belt? And he looks over, he goes, who's he with? And he said, Mr. Dye. He goes, oh, he should be able to hang. And so I was the youngest ranking person that was able to go in that Friday night line, clear up till I was a black belt. And then another incident that was kind of funny was back then, no one would put a Kempo Karate T-shirt, their own logo on it with the same arch and everything.
Mhm.
Well, Paul came up with his, and it was a bright yellow. They had multicolors, but this one was like a canary yellow. And so went to go work out at his place, and he says we're going to go to Pasadena Friday Night Line. I said, well, I don't have another shirt on. I brought this shirt. And he goes, that's okay, wear it. And I go, no, I don't have another shirt. He says, well, you're going to wear that shirt. And I'm like, oh, man, I was nervous. We go in there, and everybody sees him wearing his shirt. And, next thing we know, Mr. Parker comes walking in. A lot of the guys are like, oh, man, wait till Parker sees that. And so Mr. Parker saw it. He looks at Mr. Dye and says, he called him Paulie sometimes. He says, Paulie, come here. So Paul would come over and says, turn around. He turned around, and everybody was thinking like, oh, man, Paul's going to really get it now. And Mr. Parker turns around and says, nice shirt. I like that. He turned around, went back in the office. That was it. There we went.
Yeah, I like that. It's always funny to me when uh, we kind of develop these ideas, these, I don't know, myths, conceptions, whatever, about the teachers, about these figures, these big larger than life figures, and then when you actually are around them, and you kind of see a different side, or it's like, oh well, maybe something that was brought up was inflated or misconstrued, and it's like, oh no, they're much more down to earth, or we're much more people than these kind of uh, legendary figures that balk at everything that we do, and everything that we do is a mistake or
Right.
wrong. And it's
Right.
like, no, we all kind of we put our pants on one leg at a time, and
Mhm.
just
I
kind of go
will tell
from
you
there.
one thing, though. I will tell you one thing, though. When Mr. Parker did enter the room, there was some sort of aura about that man that, like, it was like, that's the man. Like, oh my gosh, there he is. Like he was a rock star or something. It was just, he was that, he had that much energy and aura that came off his body on any time I went to a class, a group class with him, or a seminar he was given and stuff. And I was fortunate to have a few. And man, they were every time was dynamic. And I remember when I went, I was able to test my brown and my black in front of Mr. Parker. And this one time, there was a technique that I asked Mr. Dye, you can teach us this one technique. And he said, no. And I said, well, you want me to test? What if they call it out? He said, don't worry about it. And I said, well, yeah, but what if they call it out? And he says, don't worry about it. I go, well, if they call it out, what do you want me to say? He goes, just tell them I didn't teach it to you. And I was like, okay. He goes, but don't worry, they're not going to call that technique out. So we're at Ed Parker's Pasadena studio. Mr. Parker's sitting in the middle. Frank Trejo was running the test. And there must have been 25 black belts, up there. And at that time, when you got promoted, every black belt gets you. Everybody gets you. And then he calls out this particular technique. And it ends up where you kind of do this roll in the front, you turn around, end up facing back where you were opposite direction. Well, me and another gentleman that was testing for his black stood there, and everybody did the technique. We didn't move. And then Mr. Parker saw us, and he tells Frank, he goes, call it out again. So he called out the technique. Everybody did it, and we just stood there. And then he says, gentlemen, Mr. Parker says, gentlemen, he goes, did you not hear the technique? And I see the other guy that's with me looks at me like I'm the guy that's got to answer. So I said, yes, sir, we heard the technique. He goes, then why didn't you do it? We said, sir, we were not taught this technique. And he goes, and who's your instructor? And Mr. Jai at that time was a secondary black. He jumps up out of his seat and he says, sir, I'm their instructor. He goes, Mr. Dye. He goes, you didn't teach him this technique? He goes, no, sir. He goes, why didn't you teach him this technique? He goes, sir, I don't like this technique. He said, okay, move on. And we finished the finished the test, ended up getting promoted. And right at the very end, he tells everybody, Mr. Dye, you've been promoted to third degree black. That was amazing.
Very nice, very nice. I find it interesting that find it interesting that it went down that way because we all have these techniques that we don't like for one reason or another, and I guess there is differing schools of thought as to whether or not should keep those techniques around or you just don't like them because you're not doing it right or you haven't made it work for you. And I guess we could debate about whether or not we should adjust those techniques or continue them as they were, or whether or not they still serve a purpose. And there's always a kind of a lot of back and forth on that on some some techniques. Looking at you squeezing the peach, I don't think a lot of people like that one.
But you know what? I have to tell you this. So there's this thing that goes on in Kempo world that a lot of times people look at the technique and they go, well, they all say, well, this will never happen out on the street. And I remember taking some classes with Mr. Parker, and he said, I'm giving you the alphabet. I'm giving you the letters, the tools to use. And then you create a word, then you create a sentence, and then you create a paragraph. And then you're able to write. He says, anybody can write your name, but not everyone can do your signature. So in Kempo, you're able to print your name out just like anybody else can. But if you actually do it a signature, it's your own flair, it's your own idea, it's your own way to do it. So and this is just my opinion, is that I think people may not get the concept of, it's not that the techniques will work by the book, but the concepts of the ideal phase, the what if, and the formulation, and the idea that you can change and adapt at any given situation, but you're using the tools. It doesn't mean that you know, maybe delayed sword may not work, but the hand sword out of it will, and where you place that hand sword and stuff. So it's individual weaponry that you can change and adapt to. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to that have a discussion about, well, that's the way they used to do it. We don't do that anymore. We do this. It's been more modified or whatever, and that's fine. But I always think that why would you want to lose some of the old stuff? Because I look at Temple as a toolbox with a bunch of weapons in it and a bunch of tools. Now, if I tell you, hey, I need you to go, screw in this light socket and I give you a hammer, that's not the right tool for the job. But I want a whole bunch of tools so I can choose whatever tool I want. So if I have the old tools, the new tools, then I have it all. That's what I like about it, because I can change and adjust it to fit me. Thus, I can write my own signature and someone else cannot copy it.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. That's one of the things that I love about Kempo is that it is about making it fit for the individual, and it's not a one size fits all sort of system that uh, uh, a technique that maybe doesn't work great for another person will work great for me, because I can modify it and alter it and change it to fit my experience and my body type and all the other little variables that go into that. So, uh, yeah, Kempo is really great at being suited to the person, and really shaping the for the individual. So I always love that.
It's like having a tailor. Do you want a suit that one size fits all, or do you want a suit that fits you? Tailors to you. You know,
Exactly.
I've said, we've had a discussion earlier about, you know, I can get from point A to point B in a truck. Now, you may like a Ford or you may like a Chevy. We're still going to get from point A to point B. It just depends on what the things you like about either vehicle. It'll still get you there. But maybe I like Chevy, maybe you like Ford. Still have all the components to get you there. It's just what you prefer to use.
Exactly. So, kind of getting back to Ed Parker, is there kind of anything in your training that and your time with him, anything that kind of comes up that maybe let's see how I want to word this. Maybe kind of misconceptions about him as a teacher or as a person, or just kind of anything that maybe the public has kind of gotten, maybe not so much wrong, but just maybe isn't exactly kind of the way that is portrayed.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of respect out there for him. Um, I think, if people do critique him on maybe a video or something they've seen from him, but yet not personally witnessed it, you know, firsthand. I actually got to do a technique on Mr. Parker, and I've actually had a technique done to me by Mr. Parker. And just the sheer power and speed that he had would blow you away. I mean, I'm sure you heard this. His hand was like a bear's claw, and it was heavy. And how he could generate power uh, is beyond me for the mass he was, and how he can do it in a very short space. And you've heard the thing where to see is to doubt, to hear is to be deceived, but yet to feel is to believe. And you're not going to convince the people that were there and felt it and saw it to deny how powerful he really was. Videos can't say much until you actually feel it. And so he was a believer, that's for sure, with everybody.
Oh yeah,
But
oh yeah. No, from different people that I've interviewed and different things that I've seen, people that I've seen on other shows and things like that. Those were uh, definitely things that have come up many times. Is yeah, his power was uh, a force to be reckoned with, and his speed um, was a lot better than you would have suspected just by kind of seeing him. But yeah, those that have been around him and been hit by him and worked with him have definitely gave a lot of praise to his power and speed. So
I was before the internationals, like a few days before, he would have a big workout at his studio, whether it was in LA or at the Pasadena studio. And all people from around the states, around the world would want to come and show up for this big workout with Mr. Parker. And I remember him doing two things. One was he were doing a certain technique where you basically bridge the guy out flat on the ground. And this one gentleman was doing it and wasn't doing it quite correct. And so Mr. Parker asked him, "Hey, could you come up and do it on me?" And everyone was like, "Ooh," So he gets up to go do it, and he did one wrong move, and Mr. Parker bridged him out and pancaked him. He actually had hang time, and he hung in the air for a few seconds and then hit the ground flat and knocked the air out of him. And he just looked at him. He goes, "Yeah, you don't want to lift your leg like that. You need to snake around your leg like this, and then basically bridge the guy down." And I was like, no one would have ever seen that. And I was like, man, I'm sure glad I'm not the guy up there. And then about two techniques later, he called me up, but I got it right. I didn't mess anything up. He goes, "Oh, you're doing good." And then he asked me who my instructor was. And then I told him it was Mr. Dye. And he just kind of laughed and nodded his head, goes, "Yeah, okay." That's why. So it was, nice compliment, to me and a compliment to my instructor and stuff that, he approved it. That's for sure. So
very nice, very nice. So let's talk about the competition side of it. When did you get involved with that, and was that something that you were always interested in, or did it?
so I did some forms and I did okay with forms. I'm not a forms guy per se. I mean, there's certain aspects of the martial arts forms. Guys do self defense. Guys do weapons. Guys, fight. So everyone has their own little niche. Um, I sparred. I remember they had in the internationals like the hugest internationals that I ever been to. But there were 630 guys in my division, color belt. I think I was maybe a blue belt at the time. They had to split it into two groups. Like I had 320 guys fighting. We lined up at 8 o'clock in the morning. My first fight was like at 10. Next fight was around noon. Sitting on the concrete, not being able to really get any food. I actually lost in sparring. Never made it up to third, second, or first place, but I lost in sparring at about 12:40 at night, and I was glad I lost. I was so exhausted. And my best friend, who was actually sparring himself, he lost a little after 1 o'clock, and he just wanted to go home. And we never even got to the bracket to first, second, or third. That's how many people were there at the time. And
That's
then,
wild.
yeah. So after that, Mr. Dye was pretty much dominating in self-defense division. And Mr. Parker came to Mr. Dye and says, "I want to create a self-defense division for the internationals," and asked Paul if he'd help him design that. And so he did. And then he started competing, Mr. Dye did, and he never got beat. He's very, very talented in the self-defense division. And I never wanted to compete against him. And so when he decided he was going to retire, I decided I wanted to start doing that. And then when I did, I started going a bunch of tournaments and stuff just to practice for the internationals. And I ended up winning. I believe I won internationals. I think it was 7 or 8 times in a row. And then I went and won the nationals. Karate on the Beach, it was run by Mr. White, Bob White. And then he'd asked me to come to that tournament and say, hey, if you win, you get a free ticket to Europe. And I'm thinking, great, to be one of those tickets I could use within a year or whatever. And so I said, I'll do that. And that particular tournament, ESPN was there and they were filming us up on stage and stuff. And I ended up winning self-defense there. Got this ticket, but not knowing they were going to have this big internationals in the UK on the English channel called the Jersey Island. And so I got a ticket to there, never knowing I had to go in 3 months. I had to get a passport and all that. I went to represent the United States and I won self-defense there. And then I retired. And then they were still doing the internationals. I retired out of it, but doing the self-defense stuff, doing a lot of demos and that kind of stuff. And then I got called back and asked if I would enter again. And so I entered again and took the grand champion. I think it was like, they called it a blood red trophy. I have one of those. Yeah, but my career's mostly been in self-defense because it's just something I really, really like.
Yeah, that's come to think of it. Let me see. I don't think I've in my very limited tournament life. I think I was always at kind of open tournaments and not specifically a Kempo tournament. So didn't get to participate in self-defense category, but I think I would have enjoyed that quite a bit.
The last 3 times I fought, they were all team fights. But the funny thing about it was I went there to do a demo for their grand championship that night with Mr. Dye. He had a demo team. We were going to go do that. And I remember I got asked if I'd get on a 3-man fighting team. I didn't have no gear. I didn't have anything. And so they ended up, I was borrowing gear. And I said, well, let me go out and get changed. I went and got changed. One of the guys in the team was already fighting. And I said, well, who's next? And he says, well, you. I go, well, did you already fight? He goes, yeah. And I go, man. So I had like maybe 30 seconds to stretch out. And that was it. And we ended up beating all the teams and we won. And 2 of the other black belts that asked me to be on their team and walked up to me and says, I didn't know you could spar. And I said, well, I really don't spar. And he said, man, you should spar. We won. So the same thing happened when I went to that Jersey in 98. And Angelo Coriato came up to me and says, hey, you want to represent the U.S.? There's no one here to represent the U.S. And we'll do it. And Angelo won in forms. I won in self-defense. And another guy from Utah was one of the guys that fought at the tournament and won. So it had 3 of us there, plus one of my students went. So I said, I'll teach you what I'm going to do and show you. Okay, no problem. And so ended up entering self-defense there and won. And then after that, then I said, okay, we're going to spar. And I said, okay, we had to borrow gear again. We beat every country until it came up to the Ireland, and they were undefeated. And so we ended up fighting those guys and got down to the last point, and we lost by 1 point. But that's when our friendship between the Irish really connected. And I met one gentleman that came to my house probably about 6 months later, stayed for like 6 months, trained with me, and then went back to Ireland. And then I started up getting, friends from Ireland, and then I ended up going to Mr. Downey's camp that he has. And I'm leaving this May, and I'll be going there for my 5th year to teach. And it's big. They had like over 500 people. I think it was last year. I believe there were 7 different countries. So it's a really, really big camp for the weekend. Great 5-star, facility. And what makes it the greatest, not only just the instructors and the people that are there that are, good martial artists, but the people really make that.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. So let's move into the teaching side of it. When did that get started for you? And was that something that you were always interested in, or was it like many of my guests, it was thrust upon them? And how did that go for you?
So it's interesting that when I started teaching and when I officially started teaching. So my best friend, his name's Dave Thompson. I'm sorry, um, we were both taking judo together, and then we both started wanting to take Kempo, but he couldn't afford it. So at the time, so I went and took the class, and then I'd come home and teach him what I learned until he got a little older. So I was pretty much teaching him what I was learning. And then after that, I started teaching around when I was a brown belt because I wanted to, and then officially started teaching out of my own garage. It was fixed up and stuff in 1986. So I had a house that I could actually teach out of. So that was kind of when I first started teaching out of my garage in 86. And I am still teaching out of my garage to this day.
Very nice, very nice. And I think you mentioned this when we were talking previously, but uh, no desire to have kind of the quote unquote traditional brick and mortar school or anything like that.
Now, because I was pretty much raised in Mr. Dye's garage, um, I don't have an overhead. I don't have to teach it. I don't have to rely on that income. And I can pick and choose who I want to teach. If somebody comes up and all they want to learn is how to fight or beat up people, well, I'm not teaching you. That's not what I'm teaching. Because to me, Kimple's not just about the martial arts. When I was raised in the art, I'm still the same way, that once you join us, it's not just a karate class. We become a family where, you know, uh, people will stay around forever. And if they don't stay around, they could leave like maybe in their teens, and they'll come back when they're 30s when they have kids and bring their own kids back because they want to get back into it. So it's their long relationships, that we have. I mean, I got a guy, he's been with me for, I have guys who've been with me for 35 years, almost 40 years right now. So, it's pretty crazy to have someone to be together that long. And when we get together, it's, we hang out afterwards, and so again, I teach out of my home, which is my garage. My wife, Laura, she comes out and watches the class all the time. And if I work offshore in the oil field, and I could be gone up to 3 weeks to a month. And my black belts come over and teach, and my wife is out there watching them the whole time. She just likes to watch, and so it's pretty good. And she's only taken my self defense classes that I've taken, and it's done her well. She's had to drop one guy. And you had mentioned earlier about the squeeze the peach.
Mm-hmm.
So in junior high school, I learned that technique. 2 weeks later, I had a guy get me in a bear hug from behind. And then what they used to do at the school was lift you up. And these guys were really strong. They'd lift you up until you almost pass out, but then they would slam you onto the concrete to try to knock you out. That was a game to them. And guy picked me up, and I told him, "You're letting me go. They're letting me go." And the guy, "What are you going to do about it?" And I just lifted up my hips, whack, and squeezed the peach, and it works. Oh my gosh, it works. It actually scared me because the scream that came out of that guy's body actually scared me. And he was in the fetal position, and he was there for a while, but it works.
Well, there you
My
have
wife
it.
has actually my wife's actually done that and knocked a guy right off his chair who walked up, was goofing around, and grabbed her by the back of the hair. She did it.
Oh,
So squeeze the peach works.
Well, there you have it, boys and girls. So practice squeezing the peach. Know you don't like it, but now we have a testimony that it is a valid technique and is definitely should have it in your toolbox. So yeah,
Well, as I
let's.
said earlier, it's not the whole technique, but you do that first move. That may be all you needed, and that's all I needed. So it's just a move out of it. So yeah, it works.
No, yeah. Yeah, no,
Works great.
that's definitely something that Kempo gets criticized about is, oh, well, you're not going to do all of these movements and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not designed for you to do it the way it is in the book, verbatim or anything like that. And I mean, every Kempoist I've talked to over the years I've been training. I don't. Everyone's always said that they've never done any technique on the street and to completion. It's usually just the first move or two is usually enough. So yeah, the techniques are a blueprint for what you can do and having all
Just
those tools and not necessarily doing it specifically the way it is in the book every time.
it's as simple as this. As I said earlier, where you have a toolbox with a bunch of tools in it, right? Have you ever used a tool that wasn't really for that particular item, but it still worked?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes you have to change and adapt. Like, hey, I needed a screwdriver, but maybe I have something else and there's a flat head that I can use and I use that for it. But it worked. So it's the concepts and the theory of movement and stuff that you can use. You just insert your own alphabet.
Exactly. All right. So there's something that I've been asking my guests that I like to kind of get your viewpoint on, and there's always there's this talk about being a black belt or earning a black belt, what it takes to earn a black belt, be worthy of a black belt, and since there isn't any overall uniform standard for that, I like to ask my guests in kind of your own thought process, what it means to be a black belt, what it means to earn a black belt, and what it means to be worthy of a black belt, and just kind of what are your thoughts on that?
So there's a lot of black belts out there. And a lot of people say they're black belts, in my opinion, there's a difference between being a real black belt. I don't care your rank, whether you're a first to a 10th. But that black belt only covers 2 inches of your butt. The rest you have to back up. That being said, in my opinion, every rank, no matter what it is, as you're going up, if I was an orange belt, going for purple belt, I should be moving like a purple belt for that orange belt. I need to make sure that when I get that purple belt or whatever belt color it is, that I earn that belt. The soonest anyone ever got a black belt for me was 7.5 years, because I hold myself at a certain standard. If someone's going to wear a rank and they're wearing my patch, they're not going to know who those people are. They're going to see the patch. They're going to say, oh, that's Dave Thompson's black belt. They're not going to say that's so and so. He's going to go by off my name. And I don't want anybody to question one of my people's ranks, because they're going to be going off of my name. And I don't want to look bad. I want to make sure that my student looks great. And if they look great, they make me look good. And if I give 100% to a student and expect the best that they can do, then they're going to be great in my mind. And a black belt, I've never, I don't think I've ever wanted a rank I never thought about, oh, I wish I could be a fifth, or I wonder when I'm going to be a fifth, or when I'm going to be a second. I never thought about that. I got promoted because of the time I put in, what I gave back to the art, and basically on the performance of my students. No different than when I didn't do that one technique and Mr. Dye gets promoted to his third. Why? Because Mr. Dye went and said he didn't like the technique, and Mr. Parker respected him enough for his own opinion. Yet, he knew how we moved, he knew how Mr. Dye moved, and he knows how much he gave back to the art. And there's no doubt that his rank whatsoever, anytime. And remember when I wanted to go in for my black, Mr. That, hey, you're gonna get, they're gonna do a test, and I'm gonna take you up and I'm gonna put you up black. It was called black. So you'd go up off of your instructor's name in front of Mr. Parker, and I told him I'm not ready. I don't, I can't do it. And he finally told me, he goes, well, if you don't do it, I'm not teaching you anymore because I've taught you all I can teach you at this point. So if you don't do it, don't come back. I was like, yeah, right. And he goes, no, I'm not kidding. And he was dead serious. And so I tested and I got it. And the first time I got my black belt, it scared the hell out of me because the rank to me as a black belt, I'm supposed to know all this stuff. And I didn't think I knew anything. And I was so afraid that someone would walk up to me and say, hey, how do you do this? And why do you do that? That I wouldn't have the right answer. So that belt intimidated me to hold that rank. So every rank that I've had, from first degree black belt up to the rank I have now, I always feel like, man, it's a heavy load to carry for me, because people have a certain expectation, and I need to hold that expectation. I'm like always striving for it because in my mind, I'm always going to be a student. I'm not this black belt that knows everything. Because, like I said, when I go to camps and stuff, I still learn stuff from other people that maybe I haven't seen, thought about, a different perspective. And the thing that probably gives me the most is Mr. Dye has been teaching me for 52 years. And to this day, he still teaches me stuff. I'm like, why didn't you show me that back then? He goes, oh, you weren't ready yet. Yeah. But he still teaches me stuff I never thought about. So, I don't know. I think the belts mean a lot. And sometimes belts are given out maybe sooner than maybe the ability of that person. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. It's definitely important, at least in my mind, to definitely always be the student. And yeah, no matter what you have on your waist or don't have on your waist, should still always be striving to learn and learn and grow. And as it's been said, that we can't learn all of any one art, let alone multiple arts or anything like that in one lifetime. And in many lifetimes, there's should never be a point where you're like, okay, I'm done. I've reached the end, or I've got it all figured out, because there's just so many different layers and so much more knowledge that can be obtained through the continually training and learning and having that open heart and open mind to keep going. So I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when people learn arts, when they're learning Kempo, I always think that I hope we should always evolve. We should always get better. But I think we should never let go or forget of the stuff in the past, because there's value to the things that were in the past that maybe you didn't get or understand at the time. What you're supposed to get from that particular technique or theory of movement. And I think if you forget the past and learn some of the older stuff and the new stuff, you're just limiting your toolbox.
Exactly. I like it. All right. Yeah, one other item that I wanted to get to before we head to our what I call our lightning round here. So since you've been in Kempo for a long time, and kind of seen how things have changed and evolved over the years. I'm curious. Uh, is there anything that you used to do in training that we maybe don't do now that you would like to see come back, and vice versa? Are there things that we do now in training that you wish would have done back in the day in your earlier years of training?
Um, it's what I wish that they would do more now that they used to do back then is the contact when they're doing techniques, having control, number one, but yet also having a little contact. But I have to, that's how we work. I mean, back then, if you didn't walk away with a bruise or something was sore, then you didn't work hard enough. That's how I was raised. You, if you weren't having bruises on your arms or some part of your body or just a rash from someone yanking your gi across your neck, then you didn't work hard enough. That's how it was back then. The difference is now is people that have schools and stuff, there's a risk, there's a liability there. And, that liability has changed where there's a lot of no touch. And I think, they can talk about MMA and training and ground fighting and, that kind of stuff. That's different. I'm just talking about Kempo, that if they don't control and be able to still shoot as hard and as fast as they can without hurting, that's what I'd like to see more of. Because I see some they'll go fast, but they will, end up shooting off past their face, not in the exact target. So I think if we would kind of tighten it up a little bit, I think it'd be nice. Then that's that problem about liability if somebody gets hurt. So I think that's a stepping stone that's hard to get over.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, I agree. We were actually talking about this very thing in my last uh, Kempo class, and in that yeah, putting the weapons on the target, and learning control, and moving the meat bag, as we like to say,
Yeah.
is definitely something that we've been kind of getting away from, and we need to get back onto that, and because in a real situation you're gonna default to your kind of lowest level of your reptilian brain of training. And yeah, if you're used to not getting those weapons on the target, it's won't work out so well for you. So
Well, also in Kimpo, that's been known that people always say it's a slap in the heart. They don't really do anything. I said, but sometimes if you slow it down, I remember Parker saying, don't substitute speed for power. If you hit somebody right with the right weapon and your hands closed or maybe open, whatever, you have time. You have time to hit them maybe a few more times. And I have, like right now, I've got 11 white belts, brand new group, new generation coming up. And it's funny. One of my key things I tell them, I look right in their face and say, how are you going to do this? And they look right at me. He says, I'm going to do it like I mean it. That's what I want from them. I want them to do it like they mean it. You don't have to hurt me. You have to make contact. Yeah, you're going to hit me. But do it like you mean it from the inside of your soul out. Because if a time comes that you have to defend yourself, I'm not talking about standing there and going fist to fist, but someone actually attacks you and you have to react. I want you to react now, not later. It's now. And so I'm trying to instill these people, have humility, walk away from a fight, don't put yourself in a bad situation, be smart. If it comes down to you have to defend yourself, you better nail it and you better not miss. And so I instill in that with them. And I'm talking, I have students right now that are in their, he's probably one of those guys that's a white belt, is probably late 40s. And my youngest one is 10. And I treat them all the same. because I want that from them. Because if I am not teaching them to do 100% and to defend themselves, I am doing, and that's not right. That's how I was raised. I don't do that. So if I can't do it 100% for them, then I'm not doing my job.
I like it. Well said. Well said. All right. So we are going to move into our lightning round here. I've got a few little questions for you as we head towards wrapping up our time for today. So the first question being, do you have a favorite technique?
No, I have several. If you want to know, the favorite everyone likes, five swords with their own variation: leaping crane, snapping twig, parting wings, um, flashing wings, shield and mace. I like doing shield and mace on the inside of the left. I just
Oh,
kind of change up
nice.
the target. Same flow, but you do it on the inside of the left. Because this is the issue: is, and I know everyone's done it. I'll stand there. Let's say someone's testing, and I'm standing there to test, and my dummy. No offense, but that's what we called them. My dummy. You'd call out, okay, we're going to do shield and mace, and the dummy's so excited he shoots a left instead of a right, and you'll get some students go, wait, that's wrong. You're supposed to shoot a right. And my theory's always been, I don't care what he shoots, you better block it and do something. And so I had a guy do we were doing shielded mace. He shot a left, and I did it on the inside. I just changed some of the strikes to the liver and stuff like that, and it worked. I do the same thing on leaping crane. Just the theory of movement stuff. I did it on the inside of the left, but you change it up, and man, you end up elbowing the guy right in the face. It's pretty nice.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Once again, that's the beauty of Kempo is that we can deviate from the book and make it work no matter what the situation is, or at least that's what we should be doing. So if you're if you're not
My
thinking
my
outside of the box and working it in different ways, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So.
yeah, my thought is, my ideal for my own personal idea for um, the formulation is to be able to change and adapt at any given situation without losing speed, power, and fluidity. That's, to me, that's what it is.
I like it.
So you got to change on the fly. You're gonna have to change on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
Short three.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, that's
Form four is good, but I like short three. It's short. It's dynamic. You get the right angles and stuff like that. It's just a favorite. I just like the way it looks and how it moves.
very nice. Yeah, I think short three and form four probably get the highest. Stance set. The stance sets get a lot of love, which I didn't expect when I started doing this show. But yeah, I think a number of people have mentioned those as well. So
A long time ago, I saw someone do what was it? Form four, one sided.
oh
The other thing I'd have to try to look back and try to remember it. And you've seen finger set, right?
oh yes.
You ever seen a moving finger set?
Yes. Well, in my training, I started at a school that was essentially that of the Tracy's curriculum, and they have a moving finger set. So,
I don't see that very much, but I remember it a long time ago. I had one of my students. I said, "Hey, you guys, we're going to go over finger set," and the guy goes, "Well, we really don't really want to do that." And I said, "Okay." I go, "What do you want to do?" And they said, "Well, can we, like, you got some footwork we can work on?" I said, "Sure." I did this footwork. We did it all completed. I see, you like that? And they go, "Yeah." I go, "Well, you want to learn finger set?" It says, "No, we want to do this footwork." I go, "It's finger set." And then we did the finger set to the whole thing, and they were thrilled,
very nice. Very
not
nice.
knowing that they were doing it.
Very nice. Well, yeah, in my training, so like I mentioned, I started in basically Tracy's system, and now I'm in the Ed Parker American Kempo, but I still work on some of my previous material. In particular, I still do the forums. I still do book set and moving finger set and mass attack and some of those in my training because I spend a lot of time learning them and I don't want to lose them. So I'll just keep on working those. So
Very good.
very nice. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
I got several. I like to hit people in the throat, like an open mouth. Like I hit them in the throat. I like to punch people on the side of the neck.
Oh, nice.
I'm a big groin kicker or heel scooper. I like that. Like elbows. Hand swords. Those are great. And when I say hand swords, I'm just saying to the neck. Yeah, I like hitting in the liver, reverse hand sword in the groin. I like a ridge hand. I like a lot of weapons. It's just basically what fits. I like breaking stuff. That's fun.
Oh yeah.
Paul Dye taught me how to do like a variation of what was it, flashing wings, and you end up biting his arm. So
Very nice.
incorporate a bite now and then. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question. If there's anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Paul Dye.
I love it. I was kind of thinking that was going to be your answer, but I got to ask the question.
That's great. You know, there's a lot of great instructors, and I've worked with some really good instructors. I like them, but hands down, for me, it's Paul Dye. He's the man for me.
I love it.
He's just an awesome person, and just like the way he's always moved and what he teaches and how he teaches is just like I said. He teaches a little out of the box. He's known as Mr. Dynamic, and it's pretty violent.
I like it. Hopefully one day I can get a little mat time with him. Like I mentioned before, he's been on the show, and I need to get him back on to talk about more stuff. But yeah, he's definitely one of the greats, and very very well loved and admired. So good answer. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then the last question here is, what is something that always motivates you to train, and or something that you'd like to put out for others to motivate them to train? I use the example of the movie Rocky IV. We have the training montage, and he's running in the snow and chopping the wood and all that good stuff. And anytime I see that, I'm ready to get out and hit the mats and hit the academy and get to work. So what is something that motivates you to train, or something you'd like to share with others to motivate them to train?
I think number one is when you see good martial artists, it really motivates you. When we do tests, I have a hard time sitting in my seat because I just want to jump up with them because I'm so, excited about it myself. I think the two things that motivate me the most is working with like-minded people that are as excited about the art as you are. And it doesn't matter how much rank they are, you all still share the same, and you all are open-minded enough to learn and go, oh yeah, that was cool, or this is cool. So you can all take pieces and parts from everybody and incorporate it in how you move. Probably the other thing that really motivates me are my students. It's if I get a student that is excited, that wants to do it, it excites me, and I want to give them more. And the more I give them, the more they get. It's almost like a drug for me.
Oh yeah, no, I agree 1,000% with that one. Yeah, I like it. All right, so we are now at our final piece of business for today, and that is the shameless self-promotion. So feel free to plug anything that you'd like, or if there's anything that we hadn't covered that you wanted to bring up before we close out here, you now have the floor, and then we'll close out from there.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of overall, I'll promote two things. One is if somebody wants to take an art, no matter what the art is, but we'll just say Kempo, because that's what I like for me. Um, Go to a studio, watch the instructor, watch the students, and ask every question you can ask. Because there are some great Kempoists, but maybe their teaching isn't as good as their performance or how they are. There are great teachers, but maybe their performance isn't as good as what you may expect. But finding the right teacher for you is important. In the school, how's the atmosphere around? Are you getting everything that you expected from it? And the other thing is just throwing a little thing out there is uh, Ed Downey's is doing his camp. He does it every May, and this May I get to go back again. Again, this is my 5th year. I've met people over there. I'm also teaching at another studio while I'm there. But if you have a chance to go online and find this camp, the greatest thing out of that, other than the instructors, are the people. And it didn't matter what country you went to or comes to this event, they're all the same. You become friends from people all different countries. It's just, I think that's the way Kempo used to be, and it kind of splintered off to where you can't have just a bunch of group of people that have fun. I mean, Kempo's a great art. It's to me, it's like the only time you can smack people around and laugh about it and enjoy it and have a good time. You know, it's just amazing. But it's the people that make it. That's to me, you know, that makes the art. Not only the instructor and what he knows, but it's the people that's involved in it. I think that's number one. I was fortunate. I got to get an instructor, in my opinion, is top notch. He's just everything that I've ever wanted in an instructor. And what he's instilled to me, I forward that on to my black belt, which my black belt forwards on to his black belt. So, right now, just Paul Dye's lineage through me, he's working on his 4th generation of black belts. From him teaching me teaching my student, student teaching another guy that's a black belt. And again, these aren't black belts that were made in 2 or 3 years. These black belts were made in usually an average of 8, maybe 9 years.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. I like it. Well, yes, I thank you so much for taking the time to be on and sharing your story and chatting with me. I know we've been working on trying to get this going for quite some time, but I'm glad that we could finally get it worked out and get some of the technical difficulties worked out. But yeah, I'm so thankful to have you on and get to chat with you. And you have the open invitation to be on any time you like, and we can get into some other things. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about, but we can't have a 15-hour show, so we will close it out for today. But yeah, I'd love to get you back on at another time and talk more Kempo goodness. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time to be on, and I think the listeners will enjoy hearing your story.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.